All right, now it's time to go back. How far back in time? To the 90s. It's time for Image in the 90s. And today we're talking about WildCATs number 2 from Jim Lee. So this is WildCATs Volume 1, Covert Action Teams number 2. So last week we covered issue number 1, and I was very shocked at how much information it did not give in the first fucking issue. And then the second issue is also very famous in my memory because it was the one with the hollow foil cover. I love that foil, chromium, whatever the fuck, that foil cover. I remember that specifically when I was a kid. It's weird. Why go for issue number 2? Well, issue number 2 sales usually drop in half, but if you got a foil cover, you get more people to actually go back and buy it. And if they read it, guess what? Issue 2 is where you fucking explain the story. So there you go. You know, I criticized some books today of being a little bit too decompressed and not giving us enough of a hook in the first issue. WildCATs is anything but decompressed. And it still didn't give us enough of a hook in the first issue, but the second issue does start explaining it. So it starts off with Lynch over at I.O., International Operations. We saw a version of this scene in the first issue. They fill it out. So all the time jumping shit's done. And at the end of the last issue, the WildCATs were just now forming together with Grifter and Zealot. And they were fighting these Daemonites and shit. And the building blew up. What happened? So what happened is that Void's trying to teleport them out. But somehow one of the Psi soldiers for I.O. that is working for Lynch somehow has pulled them in to I.O. So they make this very dramatic appearance in I.O. briefly. And this, of course, is mimicking the cover image. Not quite the cover image, but the Void thing is there. And then they wind up popping away. So then Lynch is like, what? And then they pop up in their spacecraft or their aircraft that's above ground to escape. But they mentioned that this soldier, his brain now has been fried. So the WildCATs are back on the ship, and they're just doing a lot of fucking talking. Once again, Brandon Choi is just fucking filling this shit up with dialogue, but it's also kind of got some interesting concepts that are in there. Like he was in law school. I think he was studying politics at some point. Like he's layering this kind of stuff in, but it is kind of dry, and it's a weird juxtaposition against this amazing artwork. By the way, this page is badass, but it's actually a horizontal page in the book. It's not a double page splash, so that kind of sucks. But they wind up getting together. They're now meeting Grifter. They're now meeting Zealot. You're finding out more of the importance of Lord Imp. Voodoo is there. She's like, what the fuck is going on, right? Then we cut back to I.O. Lynch finds out that this dude totally died, but they can somehow trace the psychic feedback and find out where the WildCATs are. So as the WildCATs are back to their base, and Jacob Marlowe is talking to them, and they're trying to just kind of make a plan about what to do, and we're starting to get these personalities and how they clash with each other. And then they know that there's a mole at a high level of government that the Daemonites and the Cabal, the bad guys, have working for them, right? Well, we found out at the end of the last issue that it's Vice President Dan Quayle, but Dan Quayle's on TV. Voodoo sees him. She can see Daemonites. She's like, he's the fucking Daemonite. He must be the mole. So now they know it's Dan Quayle. And I love this bit, too, where Jacob's like that knucklehead or some shit like that. So then Voodoo's like, yo, I don't even know what's going on. They're trying to formulate a team here. Zealots like me and Grifter, we're here at your disposal because you are Lord Imp. So they haven't really revealed much about the Coda or any of that stuff or her connection to Grifter. That's all going to come later, but we are getting the team together. And then Voodoo's like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So here's the page with a lot of dialogue, big info dump. Zealot basically explains, along with Jacob Marlowe, the whole thing. There are two alien races. They came to Earth ages ago. The Daemonites, the Cherubim, they are fighting against one another. The Cherubim have intermingled with humanity. There are now people that are offspring of humans and Cherubim. These people have powers. People like Warblade, people like Voodoo, people like Maul. So we're starting to get the idea. The Daemonites take people over, use them as hosts. So now we got the gist. This should have been given to us in the first issue, but in all of the text in the first issue, they couldn't deliver it. But here in one page, they just give it all to us. So, you know, it works. Let's move on. Then we go back to the Cabal. They are trying to open a dimensional warp into the Daemonite world that's going to allow them to have this full invasion of Earth, right? And then, so they're talking about this. It involves this orb. Void's been having these dreams and visions of this orb that they have to go and find. Meanwhile, at WildCATs headquarters, they're doing a sparring session between Maul and Warblade and Zealot. And Zealot's kind of kicking their asses. And then they get invaded by I.O., International Operations. They come in, so we get this nice snazzy fight scene. This is a really nice double-page splash in that 90s Jim Lee style. WildCATs in action against I.O. This is one of those really, really muddy, just orangey brown pages. The coloring is okay when you read it. In print, on screen, it's a little bit different. I don't know. It's okay. Voodoo displays a little bit more of an edge to her here, but then gets kind of captured by this dude. But then Jacob Marlowe shoots the dude in the fucking kneecaps. I love this bit. Then Lynch shows up. Jacob knows Lynch. There's this whole history that we haven't quite gotten to yet. But basically, he's like, look, we're all on the same side. Tell me who the mole is, and I will tell you where to go and find them as they're trying to develop this project. What do they call it? Reunification. And that's where they're trying to take this orb, this energetic orb, and breach a portal open to the Daemonite homeworld for the invasion. So then we clip to some of the Cabal being sent by Hellspawn to accompany Dan Quayle, who's actually a Daemonite, is hosting his body. But they're doing the big thing. WildCATs show up. It's crazy, but the alarms go off. They're anticipated. They think they've been betrayed by I.O., but we're going to find out that it's something different. Another great double-page splash right here. Spartan comes in. He's about to just tear ass. We're getting a little bit more information about Maul, about his size shifting and how that affects his intelligence, but it's not laying it out there yet. But there's a part of me that kind of thinks that's cool. Meanwhile, Dan Quayle has said he has bodyguards. He doesn't need the Cabal. Well, as the WildCATs are about to actually beat the bad guy and stop the evil villainous plot, who are those guards? It's fucking Youngblood. So Youngblood shows up. And then at the end, we find out that this dude, Gnome, who sold some information to Jacob Marlowe in the first issue, he's actually the big mastermind behind everything. He's the one who sold them out. He's the one orchestrating everything, and he's got Coda members on his side. What's going on? We'll find out more in the wrap-up of the first story arc, WildCATs number 3, next time on Image in the 90s. But let's go through this one more time. Just look at the artwork. The artwork's pretty solid. Coloring could be a little bit better. It's very orange, very brown, but it does still have some pops of some purples. But it doesn't really do much to differentiate the foregrounds from the backgrounds. But the line art by Jim Lee is solid. This could have very much been an X-Men book. Spartan is cool. Grifter is cool. I love all of the designs. I loved this book back in the day, and I still like it. I would give this second issue, I would give it a 3.5, honestly. It does have some info dumps, but at other things, it's not laying things out, but it's doing it in a more clever way, but in other times, it's just laying it all out. Luckily, we got some gorgeous Jim Lee artwork to look at. I think Hellspawn is a fantastically designed villain. I like some of the interplay between the different personalities that are making up this new team. It happens rather quickly, but that's how these things go. So all in all, I think the artwork's fine. Coloring could be a little bit better. Story is fine. Could be a little bit more executed, a little bit better. But overall, I still think it's fun. I'd give this one a 3.5, a decent enough follow-up, and you would be hooked after 2 issues, and I would want to come back to see them face off against Youngblood. So here is the issue that I read. Like I said, that foil cover, it's great. Got that cool ad right there for, was it American Comics? Entertainment This Month. What the hell is it called? Anyway, notice how the Executioner storyline, how it's spelled there. But I like it. It's fine. Like I said, in print, the colors work a little bit better, but it is still a little bit muddy color-wise, but it's still kind of a fun. There's that panel I was telling you about, or that page. Dope page, but man, that should have been double page splash. Quality of the book is nice. Cardstock cover, obviously. Newsprinty paper. They hadn't switched the glossy stuff yet. Not for this, at least. The artwork, though, was great. Look at all those words on that page. That's a big info dump. But still exciting and vibrant and fun. And at the end here, oh, we got the ad right here. Here's a shit thing that I hate. They got the ad right here, the coupon to get image 0. And it's right in the fucking middle of the big, giant centerfold splash page. So it's like, I don't want to rip that out, but at the same time, I want to fucking rip that out. But it's still Jim Lee artwork. And then at the end, we got a preview of Wetworks. And then the editorial at the beginning is Jim Lee speaking about how sorry that this book is 4 to 5 months late. As all the Image books were, but he blames it on the birth of his kid. But you got to have that cool foil cover. Love it. And when you think foil, and you think Jim Lee, and you think WildCATs, you know what you think of? You think of Image in the 90s.